Check, check. Well, I lost the stream. Let's just say it was from the weather, right? Because a storm did start, but it's not like that big of a storm. Anyway, it got me a chance to grab a sandwich. I was right in the middle of trying to finish reading the thing about little E. I'm just going to eat my sandwich while I let people come in, and I apologize for eating on camera. If you like my plate, it's the desert rose design that my grandmother had, and me and my sister love it. We always collect it. And I've got all 3 dogs in here, so I can't like set my sandwich down and keep talking because they'll eat it. I've got one licking on my plate, the little fuzz head, little mop top. No, you're not supposed to do that. That's bad habits. Bad doggy habits. No. I'll just set it down on the ground because I don't want to put my sandwich on it. Like I said, if I did, she'd eat it. So thanks for coming in. Thanks for hitting the like button. And I'm going to finish up the sandwich if I can and then get restarted with finishing up about little E. And then I really want to focus on these victims. That was my whole point. Like, they are getting so overshadowed, completely forgotten about. There's literally hundreds or more Annabees. Woohoo! So there is a storm that started. So it could have been that. But yeah, I was hitting on some crazy crap too. Go ahead and eat. I don't even mind like talking while I'm eating. But what I do mind, when I ate soup on a video with you guys the other day, and I was eating those sweet potato chips, that crunching was so annoying when I was trying to review my video. I was like, oh man, I should just delete this. But luckily I wasn't eating too many of them for too long, because it was just like ridiculous. It was like crunch, crunch, crunch. Like I could have like muted it, you know. Too funny. Which is why I didn't grab any Fritos to eat with this. I love Fritos. That's like one of my Achilles heels. Doritos are really good too, but Fritos are my favorite. And I think I'm all out of the honey twist ones anyway. But we do have barbecued Doritos. If you haven't tried the barbecued Doritos yet, they're fantastic. Those things are just like crack for me. Almost done. There's also barbecued Fritos. They're way beyond insanely good. But I'm eating, for anyone who's curious. It's really good. It's just that brand of bread that's called Dave's whole wheat sprouted bread. It's so expensive. But I got it at Costco, so it was like 2 of them for under $9. And a roasted chicken from Costco. And Hellman's mayonnaise from Costco. I am the Costco queen. So I just heard thunder in the background. Could you hear that? It's just me and you, girl. Thank you so much for finding my stream again. And I know exactly where I left off. I'm pretty sure it was right here. Little E was an individual of importance to the government. And then I said, and all the hundreds of victims, not important to the government. Which, you know what? F that. They are important to the government. They're important to themselves. They're important to everybody. Annie Farmer has been kicking butt being on interviews on MSNBC and CNN the last few days. So I mentioned in my last video that I lost the stream on, The Annie Farmer has a Wikipedia thing, but her little, or not Annie Farmer, sorry, Maria Farmer has the Wikipedia thing. She's the one who's been on MSNBC and CNN. She's like 10 years older than her little sister, Annie Farmer, who was also abused. And Annie Farmer is also a very strong woman. She testified against Ghislaine. She's a psychologist in Texas. And yeah, the thing about these people being identified, and then Sarah Ransom was the other one that I was going to talk about today. I know a little bit about a handful of the victims. So some of these victims, they want their names to be out there. So those are the only ones I feel like should have their names out there. If the survivors don't want their names out there, let them be Jane Doe, okay? Seriously, like that's ridiculous. But sometimes you're safer by being outspoken and being high profile. Because if something happened to Annie Farmer or Maria Farmer or Sarah Ransom, just like with Virginia Giuffre, she had her life threatened many times. They all have. And they don't even need to be threatened directly. It's implied. It's already known. Okay, down to my last bite. Oh no, not Dershowitz. Gross. And then I'm going to vomit up my whole sandwich. Okay, one more bite. And then we're getting back to this. Wait until you hear about this, Annabes. It's a good thing they are making themselves public, especially after what happened to Virginia. To me, it's just more and more obvious that what happened to Virginia was not by Virginia's own self. You know, when things don't make sense, it's because they're lies. So when people are lying and they're trying to make it make sense, it won't make sense, which is why we all say, make it make sense. So that whole thing with that car accident, and then the whole thing with her Instagram post, like, oh, I'm going to pass away in 4 days because kidney damage from the car accident, that does not make sense. If you had kidney damage from the car accident, you do dialysis. But then a month later, she self-unalived after miraculously surviving the 4 days left to live. Give me an effing break. The whole thing didn't make sense because the whole thing was a pack of lies, in my opinion. Too many people. Oh my God, this week alone, I want to know what Hulk Hogan knew. Hulk Hogan, did I say it right? I want to know what he knew because he was touring with Donnie at the end of the campaign this last fall. Next, we're going to have Kid Rock drop like a fly, right? I mean, not very many people were coming out to bat for him because everyone knows he's a freak, man. This guy that we're reading about was the only friend he's ever had in his life, basically. Like, how freaking pathetic is that? Okay, here we go. As part of the negotiations, according to the Miami Herald, Little E provided unspecified information to the Florida federal prosecutors for a more lenient sentence. Unspecified information. And was supposedly an unnamed key witness for the New York federal prosecutors in their unsuccessful June 2008 criminal case against the two managers of the failed Bear Stearns hedge fund. Alan Dershowitz, who is one of the biggest criminals, in my opinion, is one of Epstein's, Little E's, Florida attorneys on the case, told Fox Business Network. And this douchebag is all over the freaking news. He just loves his ugly mug to be out there. He's a total narcissist. He's always trying to control the narrative. He's a hateful piece of crap that has Harvard attached to his name, so it gives him a lot of clout, unfortunately, because he is the biggest dirtbag I've ever come across. One of them. Okay, so he says to the news, we would have been touting that if he had cooperated. The idea that little E helped in any prosecution is news to me. Like, that doesn't even mean anything. For him to say is news to me, I mean, basically it's just him denying that he knew anything, and that makes me think that he knew something, right? One sec. Okay, I am not advertising for this company at all. I don't have any endorsements, but man, this stuff is amazing. It's Palmer's cocoa butter formula, and it's this weird shape like that. It is the best lip shit in the world. Oh, I'm 10 minutes in. It's okay that I said the S word. I remember there used to be a product called lip shit, right? It's probably still around. I think it was like a Portland company, Portland, Oregon. Anyway, news to me, Israel startup. In 2015, the Israel newspaper Haaretz reported that Little E invested in the startup Reporty Homeland Security, rebranded as Carbon in 2018. Interesting. The year before he rubbed himself out. The startup was connected with the country that starts with an I's defense industry. It was headed by former country that starts with an I Prime Minister Idhu Barak, who was also at one time the defense minister and the chief of staff of the country that starts with an I Defense Forces, the IDF. The CEO of the company is Amir Elihai, a special forces officer, and Pinchas Berkris, director of the company and former defense ministry director general and commander of IDF Cyber Unit 8200. Dang, man, what the F? Okay, Epstein and Barak, the head of Carbon, were close, and Little E often offered him lodging at one of his apartment units at 301 East 66th Street in Manhattan. I think that's where he kept a lot of the young models. Little E had past experience with the country that starts with an I's research and military sector. In April 2008, he went to Israel and met with a number of research scientists and visited different country that starts with an I military bases. I know I just said the country, but I'm just going to try not to say it too many times. So in April 2008, so like, I'm going to guess that was like a minute after he was released from his joke of a 13-month sentence. Or did he go while he was serving his sentence? Because I didn't think that he actually started serving his sentence until 2008. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it started in 2007. But it would have had to have started in like January, February, March of 2007. Because wasn't it just 13 months? I think it was. Oh, I said something incorrect in your comments yesterday. I said the gnome was going to meet with Ghislaine. It isn't her, but it's Deputy AG Todd. Oh, Christy Gnome. I like that you call her the gnome. That's cute. Not only the Deputy AG, but the actual AG, Bondi. They were both meeting with her, like, because they don't have better things to do. And they're meeting with her again today because it went so well, because she answered every question, Todd said. And she answered every single one of them honestly, he said, because he knows, right? Yeah, Ahead of the special committee hearing with her after they come back from vacation. No, there's no way that they're going to be able to succeed, in my opinion, in postponing activity on this until September. Even with Donnie fleeing the country for the next few days, I don't think they can run, but they can't hide. I do not think so. So let's see. I just don't even know what else to read. Right here, Epstein installed concealed cameras in numerous places on his properties to allegedly record activity with underage girls or prominent people for criminal purposes such as blackmail. Maxwell, Little E's long-term girlfriend and companion, told a friend that Little E's private island in the Virgin Islands was completely wired for video, and the friend believed that Maxwell and Little E were videotaping everyone on the island as an insurance policy. When the police raided his Palm Beach residence in 2006, 2 hidden cameras were discovered in his home. Right, just 2. Those are the only 2 that they're going to cop to. It also reported that Little E's mansion in New York was wired extensively with a video surveillance system. Maria Farmer, thank goodness we're finally getting to one of the freaking survivors, and it's what I wanted to talk about straight out of the gate. But like I said, I wanted to lay the foundation, the backdrop of the bullshit. Exactly. They video everything. Maria Farmer, an artist who worked for Little E in 96, noted that Little E showed her a media room, and Virginia Giuffre also spoke about that same media room. In the New York mansion, where there were individuals monitoring the pinhole cameras throughout the house, the media room was accessed through a hidden door. She stated that in the media room, there were men sitting here, and I looked on the cameras and I saw toilet, toilet, bed, bed, toilet, bed. She added it was very obvious that they were like monitoring private moments. Little E allegedly lent girls to powerful people to ingratiate himself with them and also to gain possible blackmail information. According to the DOJ, he kept compact discs locked in a safe in his New York mansion with handwritten labels that included the description, young, blank, and blank. Little E implied that he had blackmail material when he told a New York Times reporter in 2018 off the record that he had dirt on powerful people, including information about their sexual proclivities and recreational drug use. I remember Virginia saying all that years ago. Yeah. She was so afraid of them doing to her what they did to her this last April 25th, in my opinion. That was done to her by the people that she feared were going to do that to her for years. 10 days before the Diddy trial started. There's more overlap in these cases than any of us have a clue or will ever have a clue, in my opinion. In 2003, Little E spoke in an interview over the course of more than 5 hours with journalist David Bank, which was in a cache of recordings unpublished prior to August 14th, 2019. So he was found deceased in his cell August 10th of 2019. So 4 days later, they found these. In 2017, Little E spoke in interviews over the course of more than 100 hours with journalist Michael Wolff, which is fascinating. I'm sure you guys have heard him talking about this stuff, or you've probably heard some of the recordings. But yeah, he's an interesting one. He's also in a very precarious position. He could drive off a cliff at any time, right? Okay, what are you saying? Oh, I said something incorrect. Okay, I got that one. I remember. Okay, I got them all. I thought I saw new things. Me eyeballs play games, play tricks on me. Let's see. Michael Wolff, which began to be released in November 2024 as part of Wolff's Fire and Fury podcast. First criminal case, 2005 to 2011. In March 2005, a woman contacted Florida's Palm Beach Police Department and alleged that her 14-year-old stepdaughter had been taken to Little E's mansion by an older girl. While there, she was allegedly paid $300 to strip and massage Little E. She had allegedly undressed but left the encounter wearing her underwear. West Palm Beach police began a 13-month undercover investigation of little E, including a search of his home. During the investigation, Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Ryder publicly accused the Palm Beach County State Prosecutor Barry Krishner of being too lenient and called for help from the FBI. The FBI then became involved. Subsequently, the police alleged that little E had paid several girls to perform sexual acts with him. Interviews with 5 alleged victims and 17 witnesses under oath, a high school transcript, and other items found in little E's trash and home allegedly showed that some of the girls involved were under 18, the youngest being 14, with many under 16. I've heard younger, like 13 and even 12. The police search of little E's home found 2 hidden cameras and large numbers of photos of girls throughout. You know, they love the fuzzy math. They love the freaking fuzzy math. Wanted to drop an F-bomb there again. Trying to restrain myself. Okay. Large numbers of photos of girls throughout the house, some of whom police had interviewed in the course of their investigation. Adriana Ross, a former model from Poland who became an little E assistant, reportedly removed computer drives and other electronic equipment from the financier's Florida mansion before Palm Beach police searched the home as part of their investigation. The court documents. Hey, what you got there, girl? What is it? Are you supposed to be chewing that? What do you have? Show me. Show me what you got. Oh, good. She's chewing what she's supposed to be chewing. Okay. Go ahead. Good girl. Let's see. The court documents record that a search of little E's residence by Palm Beach Police Detective Joseph Recarey in 2005 uncovered an incriminating Amazon receipt containing books on S&M. The books he ordered are titled SM 101, A Realistic Introduction, Slavecraft, Roadmaps for Erotic Servitude, Principles, Skills, and Tools and Training with Miss Abernathy, a workbook for erotic slaves and their owners. A former employee told the police that little E would receive massages 3 times a day. Eventually, the FBI compiled reports on 34 confirmed minors. See, they probably left the ones out that were under 14. Eligible for restitution increased to 40 in the non-prosecution agreement. So a lot of these survivors got paid from what's called an Epstein fund that was like $100 million or something. But for every single one of them that got paid, they're not allowed to speak of any of it, including allegedly not even to a therapist. Because again, a therapist is a mandated reporter. So that's really sick because people need to be able to talk about the things that have happened to them. They need to be able to process it and figure it out and get support. Let's see. Allegations of sexual abuse by little E included corroborating details. Julie Brown's 2018 exposés. So she's a reporter for the Miami Herald. I've heard little T raped a 13-year-old, and Anna B's, I've even heard a 12-year-old, at least one, if not more than one. She said in her expose in the Miami Herald that she identified 80 victims and located about 60 of them. She quotes the then police chief Ritter as saying this was 50-something she's and one he, and the she's all basically told the same story, meaning like a he said, she said, except you got one he and 50 she's. She said she was wearing a blonde wig and he liked it because he told her she looked like his daughter. Oh, and you're talking about little T. Yeah. Because I missed that part that you said. I've heard little T. Yeah. Right. And she was interviewed isn't her name something like, I want to say Johnson? I need to look up her name. She was the one who was interviewed by Savannah Guthrie on the Today Show, I think in 2016, right? And I am going to need to wrap up in about 20 minutes because I've got a phone interview appointment. Let's see. Where was I? Details from the investigation included allegations that 12-year-old triplets were flown in from France for little E's birthday and flown back the following day after being sexually abused by the financier. So that's 3 12-year-olds right there. It was alleged that young girls were recruited from Brazil and other South American countries, former Soviet countries in Europe. Well, see, and because they were from France, I don't think that's a big deal in France because they're crazy about that kind of thing over there, as far as I understand. And Jean-Luc Brunel was from France, and he got Epsteined. Let's see. So Jean-Luc Brunel's MC2 modeling agency was also supplying girls to Epstein, little E. In 2006, Palm Beach police filed a probable cause affidavit saying that little E should be charged with 4 counts of unlawful sex with minors and 1 count of sex abuse. On the 27th, 06 of July 27, 06, little E was arrested by Palm Beach Department on state felony charges of procuring a minor for prostitution and solicitation of a prostitute, but nothing about statutory. And this individual that he was actually prosecuted for was 14 years old. Like, that is criminal right there. He was booked, and you know, somebody needs to sue the court for that, because you can sue the court. You can definitely sue the court. You can sue that attorney, Alex Acosta. You can sue the judge. You can sue them all. By the way, did you know that Dear Leader has filed over 3,000 lawsuits in his lifetime? He crazy. That's what that whole South Park was about, was how he sues everybody. That was a really funny part of it. He was booked at the Palm Beach County Jail and later released on a $3,000 bond. State prosecutor Crisser later convened a Palm Beach County grand jury, which was usually only done in capital cases. Presented evidence from only 2 victims. The grand jury returned a single charge of felony solicitation of prostitution, to which little E pleaded. I always want to say pled. Not guilty in August of 06. Little E's defense attorneys included Roy Black, who just dropped dead on Monday. Hello. Gerald LeCourf, Harvard Law School professor Alan Dershowitz, and former U.S. Solicitor General Ken Starr. Linguist Stephen Pinker also assisted. In July 06, FBI began its own investigation of little E, nicknamed Operation Leap Year. It resulted in a 53 indictment in June of 07. Alexander Acosta, then the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, agreed to a plea deal which Dershowitz helped negotiate. To grant immunity from all federal criminal charges to little E, along with 4 named co-conspirators. I wonder who those 4 named co-conspirators were, and any unnamed potential co-conspirators. According to the Miami Herald, the non-prosecution agreement essentially shut down an ongoing FBI probe into whether there were more victims and other powerful people who took part in Epstein's sex crimes. At this time, this halted the investigation and sealed the indictment. The Miami Herald said Acosta agreed, despite a federal law to the contrary, that the deal would be kept from the victims. I'm thinking I'm going to have to cancel my 4 o'clock phone appointment thing. So there's just too much material here, and we've already broken it into 2 videos. I don't want to keep breaking it into more videos. Let me just text them real quick and say maybe tomorrow. Okay. Get that out of the way so we can just stay on what we're trying to do here. Dang it, what happened? Oh, I'm right. Where am I? Oh no, I just lost my place. Okay, I think I found it. Okay, where are we? Yeah, I was trying to read so fast, trying to wrap it up in 20 minutes. No way. I don't want to make another video unless I have to because I lose my connection, but hopefully I won't lose my connection. Do you like my necklaces and my earrings? I made the earrings. I made this necklace. I kind of remade this necklace, and then this one I didn't make. But anyway, and the earrings, I already said I made those. Okay. Let's keep going. And the 3 necklaces is a tribute to our dear Kylie Rodney, who allegedly was wearing 3 necklaces when she went missing. And if you found the necklaces, we're more interested in finding the necklaces than we are in finding the person. Of course, I'm being sarcastic, but that sure was what it seemed like on day 1, huh? Okay. And then they said they found the necklaces on her person, right? Because they were in the fake autopsy, the weird autopsy, the mustache autopsy. Anyway, let's stay focused. Focus, focus, focus. According to the Miami Herald, the prosecution agreement essentially shut down an ongoing FBI probe into whether there were more victims and other powerful people who took part in Epstein's Rex crimes. That is so sick. Thank you, Annabise. I love them. I love jewelry and I love home decor and lights. Most of all, I love you, girl. And I love justice. I have an insatiable thirst for justice. Don't you be chewing up my scarf, girl. No, chew on your thing. No. You can cuddle on it. That's fine. Okay. Where was I? Halted the investigation. Screw that. At this time, this halted the investigation and sealed the indictment. I got to reread that last sentence. According to the Miami Herald, the non-prosecution agreement essentially shut down an ongoing FBI probe into whether there are more victims and other powerful people who took part in Little E's Rex crimes. At the time, this halted the investigation and sealed the indictment. I think it was a real autopsy. I love you too. Well, I am so glad that we can have different opinions about things. I don't think so because everything was like rounded off to 10. The brain weighed 1,000, exactly 1,000. The lungs, what were they, like 130 and 120 or something like that, like the size of a baby's. But yeah, they could have been dehydrated or something, I guess, allegedly. Hey, no. She's trying to chew up this scarf that one of my best friends gave me in college when we were like 19 years old. It's like one of my favorite scarves in the world. I can't believe I still have it. And she's trying to chew it up. Okay, where was I? About the halted the investigation, sealed the indictment. Let's see. What does Anna Bees say? And remember, Anna Bees is a registered nurse, so she knows a lot more about the medical than I do. I think organs were smaller because she was extremely dry from being in a trailer or something. It's entirely possible. But the whole thing, like the brain weighing exactly 1,000 and everything ending in 0, like nothing ended in 5, nothing ended in any other number than 0. Like that was bizarre. In the summer heat and the skin slippage from the heat. Yeah. Oh, dear Kylie, we're coming up. We're getting really close to the 3-year anniversary. Did you see a thing? I'm not going to talk about that case. I'm going to keep reading here. Sorry. I don't want to get off track because this is just going on for so long. But it's so important to, and yeah, we love Kylie. And I'm planning on covering a lot more Kylie with the anniversary too. And literally, for all we know, this could be related directly or indirectly to her demise. I'm just saying, you never know. You never know. I know that's a pretty long reach, but you just never know. Remember, Podesta lived up there. Oh, and Nancy Pelosi is like one of the only Democrats who's like agreeing with the Trumpster fire. Like, yeah, let's forget about all this Epstein stuff. Like, we got bigger fish to fry. Stop. Obama, right? I'm sorry too for going off subject. Oh no, you're fine, my dear. You do whatever you want. That is completely good. Thank you. I didn't mean it like that at all. Not at all. So, because I'm glad that we brought her up. Absolutely. And like I said, it could be not off topic in the least. It could be. I've often wondered. Bohemian Grove, far away. Okay. Oh, the dog's being good. She's chewing on the thing she's supposed to chew. At this time, this halted the investigation and sealed the indictment. I know I've read that sealed the indictment like 4 times, but I think that that's actually really good to keep reading that. Sealed the indictment. Sealed. The Miami Herald said Acosta agreed, despite a federal law to the contrary, that the deal would be kept from the victims. So there was a federal law that violated federal laws. Okay? Like, Florida is so effing crazy. Like, stop with your Florida man crap, Acosta. And Little E, a bunch of crazy Florida mans with their gross Florida man crap. Acosta later said he offered a lenient plea deal because he was told, and that's nothing against Florida men. My nephew's a Florida man. My brother-in-law's a Florida man. I love them, but they are crazy Florida men. Nonetheless, that heat cooks your brain. Acosta later said he offered a lenient plea deal because he was told that Little E belonged to intelligence. Belonged to intelligence, quote, end quote. I was pissed off when all this happened. I know. And was, quote, above his pay grade, end quote, and to, quote, leave it alone, end quote. Little E agreed to plead guilty in Florida State Court to 2 felony prostitution charges, served 18 months in prison. It's not possible that he served 18 months in prison if he took that trip out of the country in April of 2008. He did not serve 18 months in prison. First of all, it was a jail. It was a county jail. And register as a Rex offender, which he did not have to do in the state of New Mexico because he was so treated with the kid gloves in New Mexico. That says a lot. He did not even have to register there. And pay restitution to 3 dozen victims identified by the FBI. The plea deal was later described as a sweetheart deal. Like, I wish they would quit saying that and just call it what it is. An illegal deal, an unethical deal, a disgusting piece of crap deal. A federal judge later found that the prosecutors had violated victims' rights by concealing the agreement from the victims instead of urging them to have, quote, patience. According to an internal review conducted by the DOJ Office of Professional Responsibility released in November 2020, Acosta showed, quote, poor judgment in granting Little E a non-prosecution agreement and failing to notify Little E's alleged victims about the agreement. Conviction and sentencing. On June 30th, 2008, after Little E pleaded guilty to a state charge procuring for prostitution a girl below the age of 18, he was sentenced to 18 months in prison. So if he was sentenced, oh, okay, so he took the trip before he was sentenced. Okay, I got it. He was allowed to leave the country. Give me an effing break. He's an international Rex trafficker, and you're letting him leave the country before his sentencing. Oh, these scum. While most convicted Rex offenders in Florida are sent to state prison, Little E was instead housed in a private wing of the Palm Beach County Stockade, and according to the sheriff's office, was, after 3.5 months, allowed to leave the jail on, quote, work release for up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. This contravened the sheriff's own policies requiring a maximum remaining sentence of 10 months and making Rex offenders ineligible for the privilege. He was allowed to come and go outside of specified release hours. Little E's cell door was left unlocked. Well, that's nice. That is insane. And Anna B says she is still PO'd. And county jail is a lot different from prison, right? Some people think Little E is still alive. Well, and he could very well be. He could very well be. I know that that's a thing. You know, here we all are arguing whether he did it to himself or if it was done to him. And he's probably out there in the ether, I don't know, the Virgin Islands or somewhere, laughing his rear end off. That's unbelievable. I didn't know that. Yeah, isn't that crazy that the door was unlocked? Is that the part you're talking about? I know, I just heard that the last couple of days. But, you know, if he had gone to prison, they don't treat child molesters well there, do they? He would have... he would have gotten his comeuppance, basically. And get this. Are you ready for this, Anna Bees? It gets worse. Little E's cell door was left unlocked, and he had access to the attorney room where a television was installed for him before he was moved to the Stockade's previously unstaffed infirmary. He worked at the office of a foundation he created shortly before reporting to jail. He dissolved it after he had served his time. The sheriff's office received $128,000 from Little E's nonprofit to pay for the costs of extra services being provided during his work release. Now, mind you that there was that one sheriff's deputy, John somebody, who ran away to Russia around 06, I think. I'll have to look it up. And he's been there operating troll accounts to interfere with our elections and everything. 150 of these bot accounts, to be exact. So he was a deputy for the Palm Beach sheriff for 5 years. And then he said that he feared for his life. So he went to where his friend Vladdy would protect him. And he's stayed there ever since. John somebody. I'll look it up in a minute if you want to remind me if I forget. I've been meaning to look it up again lately. Let's see. But yeah, so they took bribes from him too, but they didn't call it a bribe, so it's okay. His office was monitored by, quote, permit deputies whose overtime was paid by Little E. OMG. So I wonder if they let him bring girls in there. Oh my goodness, because apparently he couldn't survive without that 3 times a day, right? I did not know this about the permit deputies that were paid by him. They were required to wear suits and checked in welcomed guests at the front desk. Would they stop? They're killing me with this. Anna, are you going to vomit? Do you have like a barf bucket? Because I need one, please. My coffee cup is empty. It's big enough. Blah! Okay. Okay, that is insane. But then why would his brother be going so hard to prove he didn't unalive himself? Yeah, that's a good point, Annabise. Again, just to distract everybody. Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? You say OMG about the welcomed guest. So basically, they got to do the job that Maria Farmer was initially hired to do, which was check in guests at the front desk. Later, the sheriff's office said these guest logs were destroyed per the department's quote records retention rules. Anna Bees, can we sue them? This is crazy. Although the stockade visitors logs were not, Little E was allowed to use his own driver to drive him between jail and his office and other appointments. Little E served almost 13 months before being released on July 22nd, 2009, for a year of probation on house arrest until August 2010. While on probation, we're getting really close to 2011, which is when Pamela Bondi became the AG in Florida. 2011. While on probation, he was allowed numerous trips on his corporate jet to his residence in Manhattan and the Virgin Islands. So he was because they're U.S. Virgin Islands. It just gets worse and worse. And this is just the part that they're willing to admit to in the Wikipedia. He was allowed long shopping trips and walks around Palm Beach, quote, for exercise and probably for hunting. After a contested hearing in January 2011, an appeal, he stayed registered in New York State as a, quote, level 3 high risk of repeat offense, Rex offender, a lifelong designation. At that hearing, the Manhattan Assistant District Attorney, Jennifer Gaffney, argued unsuccessfully that the level should be reduced to low risk, level 1, and was chided by the judge. Despite opposition from Little E's lawyer that he had a, quote, main home in the U.S. Virgin Islands, the judge confirmed he personally must check in with the New York Police Department every 90 days. Though Little E had been a level 3 registered Rex offender in New York since 2010, the NYPD never enforced the 90-day regulation, though non-compliance is a felony. So they all committed the felonies too. Oh, yes. It is so disgusting. I want to sue them. I am so sick of the pedos, for F's sake. Hey, y'all, love you. Billy, darling. Hey, I didn't realize that last comment, the sick of pedos for F's sake, was you. Hello there, my dear. How are you? So I'm trying to finish reading the Wikipedia about Little E. So he caused the 2008 economic nightmare. Did you know this? He did it pretty much single-handedly. It says so in Wikipedia, if you can believe them. OMG. The immunity agreement and Little E's lenient treatment were the subject of ongoing public dispute. The Palm Beach police chief accused the state of giving him preferential treatment. The Miami Herald said U.S. Attorney Acosta gave Little E the deal of a lifetime. Following Little E's arrest in July 19 on Rex trafficking charges. What? He did it again? Acosta resigned as the Secretary of Labor effective July 19th, 2019. After the accusations against Little E became public, several persons and institutions returned donations that they had received from him, including Elliot Spitzer, Bill Richardson, and the Palm Beach Police Department. Harvard University announced it would not return any money. Various charitable donations that Little E had made to finance children's education were also questioned. That is so scary. Oh my goodness. Let's see what else you guys are saying. He had something on all of them. Oh yes, Annabees. Right. If he gave them party favors, then he was in like Flynn. You are so smart. That's exactly what was going on. Bondi was an attorney general during the Epstein trials. Oopsie. So she was the attorney general for Florida 2011 to 2019. A lot of high profile, well known, and highly regarded channels say that she was the attorney general during the Alex Acosta deal, but she wasn't. I don't know if she had involvement, like maybe she was an assistant to the then attorney general or something. I don't know. I've been trying to figure that out. I think that a lot of these channels might just have it incorrect because she was sworn in to be the attorney general for Florida in 2011 and she remained there until 2019. What say you? Pedos need their bits removed. Yes, she was. I agree, Billy. Yeah. Various charitable donations. Okay, I read that one. On June 18th, 2010, Little E's former house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, was sentenced to 18 months incarceration after being convicted on an obstruction charge for failing to turn over to police and subsequently trying to sell a journal in which he had recorded Little E's activities. Ooh, Alfredo, I bet he's been Epstein by now. FBI Special Agent Christina Pryor reviewed the material and agreed it was information that would have been extremely useful in investigating and prosecuting the case, including names and contact information of material witnesses and additional victims. On July 6th, 2019, Little E was arrested by the FBI NYPD Crimes Against Children Task Force at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey on charges of sex trafficking during the years of 2002 to 2005. He was jailed at the Metropolitan Corrections Center in New York City. According to witnesses and sources, on the day of his arrest, about a dozen FBI agents forced open the door to his Manhattan townhouse, the Herbert N. Strauss House, with search warrants. The search of his townhouse turned up evidence of sex trafficking and also found, quote, hundreds and perhaps thousands of sexually suggestive photographs of fully or partially nude females, end quote. Some of the photos were confirmed as those of underage females. In a locked safe, compact discs were found with handwritten labels, including the descriptions, young with a name and another name, miscellaneous, nudes 1, girl pics nudes. Also found in the safe were $70,000 in cash, 48 diamonds, and a fraudulent Australian passport, which expired in 1987, that had Epstein's photo but another name. That's good he saved that, huh? Criminals are so dumb. The passport had numerous entrance and exit stamps, including entrance stamps that showed the use of the passport to enter France, Spain, UK, and Saudi Arabia in the 80s. The passport showed his place of residence as Saudi Arabia. According to his attorneys, Little E had been advised to acquire the passport because of an affluent member of the Jewish faith. He was in danger of being kidnapped while traveling abroad. Well, that's a good excuse. And might that attorney be Dershowitz, who's also Jewish and also like an anti-Semite, it seems. What is it that I wanted to say about all of the people in this administration that are breaking laws because Donnie Two Dolls tells them to? They will all be charged one day and held accountable and put in prison, in my opinion. Yes, I adore Billy so hard. Yes, I adore Billy so hard. That's how I got my avatar name. Oh, what did I miss? Billie Eilish. Okay. I just noticed your profile pic is Billie Eilish. Love it. Oh, how cute. Yeah, I never realized that. That's awesome. And she's really outspoken. Like, what an amazing young individual she is. On July 8, prosecutors with the Public Corruption Unit of the Southern District of New York charged him with sex trafficking and conspiracy to traffic minors for sex. The grand jury indictment alleges that, quote, dozens of underage girls were brought into Little E's mansions for sexual encounters. Judge Kenneth Mara was to decide whether the non-prosecution agreement that protected Little E from more serious charges should still stand. Little E requested to be released on bond, offering to post $100 million with the condition that he would also submit to house arrest in his New York City mansion. The Judge Berman denied the request on July 18, saying that Epstein posed a danger to the public and a serious flight risk to avoid prosecution. On August 29, 2019, 19 days after he was found deceased in his jail cell, the case against Epstein was closed by the judge. How convenient. So nice and nifty, huh? So clean. Saw her in concert in St. Paul last year. Oh, how awesome. I thought you were in the Bay Area, though, Billy, darling. Were you just visiting St. Paul? I've been to St. Paul. That's a cool city. I like it. That's awesome. 3 minutes missing tape. Yeah, I know. I mean, these idiots with their Adobe editing, like, it's insane how stupid these freaking criminals are at such high levels. OMG. And for that, we can thank them, right? Prosecutors stated they would continue an investigation for potential co-conspirators. Sure. On August 23rd, 2019, the prosecutor's office in Paris, France, opened a preliminary investigation into Little E after Yael Malou wrote to the Paris prosecutor to report the international dimensions of the pedo network involving Little E, criticizing the slow pace of justice. He is being investigated for rape and essay of minors under and over the age of 15, criminal association with a view to committing crimes, and association with criminals with a view to committing offenses. The prosecutor said that the goal of the investigation is to find possible crimes committed in France and elsewhere against French citizens. An associate of Little E, modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel, was arrested during this investigation, but was found deceased in his jail cell in 2022. On February 6, 2008, an anonymous Virginia woman named as Jane Doe number 2 filed a $50 million civil lawsuit in a federal court against Little E, saying that when she was a 16-year-old minor in 04 and 05, she was recruited to give Little E a massage. She claimed she was taken to his mansion where he exposed himself and had intercourse with her and paid her $200 immediately afterward. A similar $50 million lawsuit was filed in March 2008 by a different woman who was represented by the same lawyer. These and several similar lawsuits were dismissed. Disgusting. All other lawsuits had been settled by Little E out of court. Little E made many out-of-court settlements with alleged victims. I think over $100 million worth, and I think that Donnie Toodles that's the same thing, same story. I flew across the U.S. to see her. That is phenomenal. I love it. That's okay that it was all caps. Yes, they're mad that Jazz is reading all this, Billy. They stopped her earlier live, but it's just Wikipedia. I mean, any of us can find it. It's just that they know that it puts us all to sleep if we don't have all these bright lights and interaction, right? It's just, you just like start to scan it and just none of it sinks in. I mean, because I did try to read it all before deciding that it was important to read it all with you guys. Not surprising they're cowards. Just coincidence, Jazz. LOL. I know. Yes. Release the files. Well, I'm surprised that they don't just release some BS files like they did before with those ridiculous white notebooks. Like, they should just try that same stunt again. But no, they got to come up with some new stunt. Like, everybody run and hide. No, we're not scared. Obama, Obama, Obama. Okay, here we go. Where was I? Where was I? Right here, I think. Epstein made many out-of-court settlements with alleged victims. A December 30th, 14 federal civil suit was filed in Florida by Jane Doe number 1, Courtney Wild, and Jane Doe number 2 against the U.S. for violations of the Crime Victims' Rights Act by the U.S. Department of Justice, NPA, with little e and his limited 08 state plea. There was a later unsuccessful effort to add Virginia Roberts, Jane Doe number 3, and another woman, Jane Doe number 4, as plaintiffs to that case. The addition accused Alan Dershowitz of sexually abusing a minor, Jane Doe number 3, provided by little e. But now, before she passed away, she said that she may have mistaken Mr. Dershowitz for someone else. And Mr. Dershowitz repeats those exact phrases. She may have mistaken me for someone else. You MFPOS. Just go back under the rock from whence you came, disgusting toad. The allegations against Dershowitz were stricken by the judge and eliminated from the case because he said they were outside the intent of the suit. Oh, well, isn't that tricky? That was before she decided that she may have mistaken him for someone else. These freaks, man, they are all freaking criminals. Effing criminals. These people, how do they even live with themselves? I mean, half of them have probably been unalived anyway. My Blue Sky keeps getting shadow labeled as spam because the hashtag of that little e a lot. Cough, bull hockey cough. He belongs in prison. He is so gross. Yeah. He is so gross. Agree, Anna? They all got dirt on each other. All of them. Exactly. The addition accused Alan Dershowitz, provided by little e, stricken by the judge, outside the intent of the suit to reopen the plea agreement. So go ahead and file it separately then. A document filed in court alleges that little e ran a sexual abuse ring and lent underage girls to, quote, prominent American politicians, powerful business executives, foreign presidents, a well-known prime minister, and other world leaders, end quote. This long-running lawsuit is pending in federal court aimed at vacating the federal plea agreement on the grounds that it violated victims' rights. Is it still pending? It sounds like that sentence makes it sound like it's still pending, you guys. I'll reread that one sentence. This long-running lawsuit is pending in federal court aiming at vacating the federal plea agreement on the grounds that it violated victims' rights. Oh, these sick scum. Muskrat, too. I know. I agree, too, Billy. Anna agrees. We all agree. We are all on the same page. On April 7th, 2015, Judge Kenneth Mara ruled that the allegations made by alleged victim Virginia Roberts against Prince Andrew had no bearing on the lawsuit by alleged victims seeking to reopen Little E's non-prosecution plea agreement with the federal government, and the judge ordered that allegation to be struck from the record. Judge Mara made no ruling as to whether claims by Roberts are true or false. Though he did not allow Jane Doe 3 and 4 to join the suit, Mara specifically said that Roberts may later give evidence when the case comes to court. On February 21st, 2019, in the case of 2 Jane Does versus U.S., Senior Judge of U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida, Kenneth Mara, said federal prosecutors violated the law by failing to notify victims before they allowed him to plead guilty to only the 2 Florida offenses. The judge left open what the possible remedy could be. And I think Donnie may have the diseases of the brain, like the syphilis maybe. Oh, and dementia. My typing one-handed. That's all right. I agree with that too, Billy, as well as congestive heart failure. Yeah, where's my puppy dog? None of them are in here. That's funny. Oh, wait, no, Coco's behind me. Coco, come here, baby. Come here. Come here. Show your pretty face. Coco, come here. Come here. Stand up. Come here, baby. Give Mama a kiss. Give Mama a kiss. She says, no, I'm taking a nap, Mom. Leave me alone. I understand. Okay, let's see. The judge left open what the possible remedy could be. In December 2014, Florida court filing by Bradley Edwards and Paul Cassell meant for inclusion in the Crime Victims' Rights Act lawsuit, Virginia Giuffre, then known as Virginia Roberts, alleged in a sworn affidavit that at age 17 she had been sexually trafficked by Little E and Maxwell for their own use and for use by several others, including Prince Andrew and retired Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz. Giuffre also claimed that Little E, Maxwell, and others had physically and sexually abused her. She alleged that the FBI may have been involved in a cover-up. Good for her, but now look what happened, huh? Yes, for sure. Those cankles, yeah. Yeah, did you guys hear the Josh Johnson joke about how your shoes shouldn't give you a muffin top? He must be on those medications, and he's a predator too. So nasty, his body rotting. Yeah, he deserves it, doesn't he? He is so gross. I mean, look what he's done to the whole freaking country and world. He gets his just dessert. She said she had served as Little E's rec slave from 99 to 02 and had recruited other underage girls. Prince Andrew, Little E, and Dershowitz all denied having recs with her. Yeah, isn't that funny? All of them. Huh. I guess she must have mistaken them for other people. Dershowitz took legal action over the allegations because he's such an MF prick. Yeah. Anna Bees and Billy, you guys know that Josh Johnson got to host the Daily Show this week. I think last night was his last night of doing it, but he kicked some butt. I don't know how he keeps up with his schedule. He is so busy. Okay. Highly recommend it. Oh, and he even got like a spotlight on MSNBC, and yeah, he increased their ratings too. His hosting had the highest ratings ever, I think. Yeah, you knew that about Josh. Prince Andrew deserves to be in prison too. Yes. And they must be thinking of the other children and forgot. Yeah. Donnie's going to have to get Josh Johnson fired, but he's not even hired, so that's going to be tricky. I'm sure he'll figure out a way. Have him Epstein. I dare not say that. I love Josh Johnson, but you know. I mean, if Epstein was Epstein, who do you think was behind the Epsteining? I don't know. You would think that a world leader would have a lot of influence over that. Okay, let's see. What else? Giuffre filed a defamation suit against Dershowitz, claiming he purposely made, quote, false and malicious defamatory statements, end quote, about her. A diary purported to belong to Giuffre was published online. Epstein entered an out-of-court settlement with Giuffre, as he had done in several other lawsuits. In 2019, Giuffre was interviewed by the BBC's Panorama, where she continued to attest that little E had trafficked her to Prince Andrew. She appealed directly to the public by stating, I implore the people in the UK to stand up beside me, to help me fight this fight, to not accept this as being okay. These accusations had not been tested in any court of law. I feel like Maria Farmer is getting that same type of support from our country right now. Like currently, she's in the midst of it. I think she interviewed with CNN and MSNBC, the Today Show, I think all this week. And she's been so well spoken. She's been very cool, calm, and collected. And, you know, she feels very lucky to be heard because she's been waiting 30 years to be heard. And, you know, she was a little bit older than most of these victims. She was in her early 20s when they got their talons in her. And she was the one with her little sister, Annie Farmer. They were both abused, but she went to the authorities right away in 96. So she's been at this since then. So next year, that'll be 30 years. If I know math, if I am good with the numbers, which sometimes I am, sometimes I ain't. Anyway, as a result of Giuffre's allegations and Maxwell's comments about them, Giuffre sued Maxwell for defamation in September of 15. After much legal confrontation, the case was settled under seal in May of 17. The Miami Herald, other media, and Alan Dershowitz filed to have the documents about the settlement unsealed. After the judge dismissed their request, the matter was appealed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. On March 11, 2019, in the appeal of the district judge's refusal to unseal the documents relating to the 2017 defamation settlement of Giuffre and Maxwell, the Second Circuit Court gave parties 1 week to provide good cause as to why they should remain under seal, without which they would be unsealed March 19, 2019. Wow. Right before little E was arrested. Weird. Oh, I missed a whole page of stuff. 1 second. Yes, I knew that about Josh. They must be thinking of the other children and forgot. I know Josh Johnson from The Daily Show, Peter Thiel and Saudi Prince, the King, and Andrew, etc. Or maybe the president of the time. I don't know. Crazy thinking, exactly. JD and Trump's guy. CFO Allen, they all diddled children, girls and boys. Yes, Billy. Where are all the children from the ICE raids? Oh, Billy, darling. That is so scary. That's so insane. Where are the orphans from the war in Europe? Yeah, I mean, Vladdy admits to having 20,000 Ukrainian children. Exactly, Billy. And Little T's first administration, too. Hi, everyone. What did I miss? Patricia Moss, just kidding. Keep rolling. Clinton, too, and more. Hi, Patricia. I know, Billy. And I like Clinton, but if Bubba did it, he belongs in jail, too. Exactly. So March 11, 2019, in the appeal of the district judge's refusal to unseal the documents relating to the 2017 defamation settlement of Giuffre versus Maxwell. The Second Circuit Court gave parties 1 week to provide good cause. I already read that, right? As to why they should remain under seal, without which they would be sealed on March 19, 2019. Later, the court ordered these documents to be unsealed after having them redacted to protect innocent parties. In testimony, Giuffre claimed that she was directed by Maxwell to give erotic massages and engage in sexual activities with Prince Andrew, Jean-Luc Brunel, Glenn Dubin, Marvin Minsky, and Governor Bill Richardson. Another unnamed prince, an unnamed foreign president, a well-known prime minister, and an unnamed hotel chain owner from France, among others. Giuffre testified, "My whole life revolved around just pleasing these men and keeping Ghislaine and little E happy. Their whole entire lives revolved around Rex." On August 9th, less than 24 hours before little E's passing, 2,000 pages of previously sealed documents from the case were released. We've all heard about this, right? Let's see. Every single person in his black book have a unredacted copy. You have an unredacted copy? Wait, what? Likely had a party favor, aka child, similar to Diddy parties. But Diddy did the entertainment sector. Little E did the global elites. Yeah, the politicians and such. These were just the ones that we knew about. Exactly, Billy. He went to Scotland with the files, his MO. Dang, I hadn't thought about that. I was going to look up to see if Scotland extradited people because I just assumed that he's never coming back. One could hope, right? Fingers crossed. The files are probably in the ocean. Just throw them out the window on the way. Yes, I do. Unredacted black book copy from Blue Sky. Oh, interesting, Billy. LOL. Hope. Okay, so 2,000 pages of previously sealed documents from the case were released. 2 sets of additional sealed documents were expected to be analyzed by a federal judge. Yeah, timing is everything, right? The day after this, his time is up. To determine whether they should also be made public. A John Doe asked the judge on September 3rd to permanently keep the documents secret, claiming, quote, unproven allegations of impropriety, end quote, could damage his reputation. Though he had no evidence his name was included. I bet that was El Presidente. Maybe. Maybe not. Okay, here we go. I talked about this one. I read this whole lawsuit, the Jane Doe versus Epstein and Donnie 2016. Let me stay caught up with you guys. And where's my water? Sorry for the big noise. Let's see. Wow, you all give interesting info. This is literally just from Wikipedia. Like any of us could get this anytime. It's just too easy, huh? And I knew it was there, but I hadn't read it out loud. I wasn't going to read it out loud, but then I thought I should read it out loud. Stupid gravity. Well, nobody got hurt. That could have broken my foot or hit a puppy dog in the head. Stupid gravity. I'll say it again. Okay, just stay put. Let's see. Aha. There you go. Unredacted. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to take it. I don't want to mess things up. I was going to say I'm going to take a screenshot of that, but I'll find it. Because, it takes like 24 hours before the live chat gets with the video afterwards. And anyway, we're going to start reading this part. A federal lawsuit filed in California in April 16 against Little E and Donnie T by a California woman alleged that the two men ritually assaulted her at a series of parties at Epstein's Manhattan residence in 94 when she was 13 years old. So I think this was the woman that was on the Today Show, interviewed by Savannah Guthrie in 2016 when she filed this. And I want to say her last name is Johnson. Do you guys remember who I'm talking about? A lot of people have been bringing up that footage lately. The suit was dismissed by a federal judge in May 2016 because it did not raise valid claims under federal law. The woman filed another federal suit in New York in June 16, but it was withdrawn 3 months later, apparently without being served on the defendants. See, because she was threatened, allegedly. A third federal suit was filed in New York in September 2016. The two later suits included affidavits by an anonymous witness who attested to the accusations in the suits, asserting Little E employed her to procure underage girls for him, and an anonymous person who declared the plaintiff had told her about the assaults at the time they occurred. The plaintiff, who had filed anonymously as Jane Doe, was scheduled to appear in a Los Angeles press conference 6 days before the 2016 election. Do you guys remember this? Crazy. It's a safe link. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Share. It's not my link. Love you. Stay true. Stay blue. Yeah, the lawyer Lisa Bloom. Let's see. But abruptly canceled the event. Her lawyer, Lisa Bloom, asserted that the woman had received threats. The suit was dropped on November 4th, 2016. Trump attorney Alan Garten denied the allegations, while Little E declined to comment. Sarah Ransom. Finally, we get to Sarah Ransom, who I have in the title of the last video that I lost the stream on, but I'll get that into the title of this one too. Let's see. It's been there. We just don't know it. Exactly, Billy darling. I do remember that. And I think it was that 12 or 13-year-old. Right. She was 13, I think, the first time. But can you guys remember her name? Because she's come out, like she has her name out there. I think it's Johnson. Something Johnson. Everyone in that link should be deposed. Sarah Ransom is awesome. One of the many challenges that Sarah Ransom has against her, making her case even harder, is that she was 22 when the abuse started. So, she wasn't underage, but still. In 2017, Sarah Ransom filed a suit against Little E and Maxwell, alleging that Maxwell had hired her to give massages to Little E and later threatened to physically harm her or destroy her career prospects if she did not comply with their demands at his mansion in New York City and on his private Caribbean island, Little St. James. The suit was settled in 2018 under undisclosed terms. A state civil lawsuit in Florida filed by attorney Bradley Edwards against Epstein was scheduled for trial in December 18. The trial was expected to provide victims with their first opportunity to make their accusations in public. However, the case was settled on the first day of the trial, with the Little E publicly apologizing to Edwards. Other terms of the settlement were confidential. Maria Farmer, that's my girl. She's been so awesome in the news this week, you guys. Like, I feel like she can do this. She's got this. Again, she's right around my age. I think she's like a year younger than me. But so she was older when the abuse started, just meaning that she had a better formed foundation of maturity, and I mean, she's just a phenomenal individual. Anyway, but then they got her little sister, who was 15 when they got their talents into Annie, and Maria felt responsible because that was her little sister and she introduced them. So she's got an axe to grind for what they did to her and her little sister and what they tricked her into tricking her little sister into. So you go, Maria, you go, girl. So April 16th, 2019, Maria Farmer went public and filed a sworn affidavit in federal court in New York alleging that she and her 15-year-old sister, Annie, I could just cry, had been sexually assaulted by Little E and Maxwell in separate locations in 1996. Farmer met Little E and Maxwell at her graduate art gallery reception at the New York Academy of Art. And let me just say that they suck because they stood behind Little E and Maxwell and protected themselves and threw all of their students under the bus. So nobody should support them, in my opinion, until they make a formal apology to everyone. Everyone. New York Academy of Art. F you. Okay, New York Academy of Art that sucks in 1995. The following year, in the summer of 96, they hired her to work on an art project in Les Wex's Ohio mansion where she was then sexually assaulted, and they both attacked her together. Oh man, the story is just chilling. Farmer reported the incident to the New York City Police Department and the FBI. Farmer's affidavit also stated that during that same summer, Epstein flew her then 15-year-old sister to his New Mexico property where he and Maxwell sexually abused her on a massage table. And they both attacked the 15-year-old in New Mexico together the way that Maria was attacked by both of them. Jennifer Arazo versus Epstein and Maxwell on July 22nd, 2019, while in jail awaiting trial. Little E was served with a petition regarding a pending state civil lawsuit filed by Jennifer Arazo. She stated that an associate for Little E had recruited her outside Talent Unlimited High School at age 14, and she was gradually groomed for over a year before Little E raped her in his New York City mansion when she was 15. Arazo filed her suit on August 14th, 2019, when New York state law was updated to allow 1 year for adult survivors of child sex abuse to sue for previous offenses, regardless of how long ago the abuse took place. So this was 4 days after he was found unresponsive in his cell, right? I don't want to fall behind. Did I say Katie? Let's see. Katie. Oh, Katie Johnson. I think you're right, Billy darling. I think it is Katie Johnson. Because I keep, I wrote it down, but then I can't find it in my notes, and I keep meaning to look it up again. Rest in peace, Virginia. Yes, Virginia is a hero. Yeah, and Maria Farmer, she mentions Virginia all the time. In her last interview, I think was yesterday, she was talking to Virginia as if she were there, which I'm sure in spirit she was in a sense. So yeah, I'm sure he did. Same to Ivanka. Oh, I thought you were saying Ivana, but yeah, you look at the pictures of him with his hands all over her. Gross. I used some pictures for some thumbnails the last few days that are super sick. And I did change the ones that I thought might be artificial intelligence because they were. And I don't want to use that, even though I know a lot of content creators use AI images on their thumbnails. That's not my cup of tea. I'm okay with other channels doing it, but I don't want to do it. They want that money. Maria Farmer is a hero too. Yeah. Okay. So, in October 2019, Arazo amended her complaint to include over 20 corporate entities associated with Little E and named the additional individuals Leslie Groff and Kimberly Espinoza as enablers. Interesting. Caitlin Doe. 3 women, Caitlin Doe, Lisa Doe, and Priscilla Doe, sued the state of Little E on August 20th, 2019. 2 of the women were 17 and one was 20 when they met Little E. The women alleged they were recruited, subjected to unwanted Rex acts, and controlled by Little E in a vast enterprise of co-conspirators. Jane Doe and Little E's estate. A New York accuser of Little E, known only as Jane Doe, announced a federal lawsuit against his estate in the Southern District of New York on September 18th, 2019, stating that she was recruited in 2002. Again, you can run, but you can't hide, mofo. And yeah, I don't think there's any statute of limitations on statutory grape. She was recruited in 2002 and rexually abused by Little E for 3 years, starting at age 14. 3 years. So 14, 15, 16. Insane. And Teresa Helm. 5 women: Teresa Helm, Annie Farmer, Maria Farmer, Juliet Bryant, and an unidentified woman represented by David Boyes, sued Little E's estate in federal court in Manhattan in November 2019, accusing him of great battery and false imprisonment and seeking unspecified damages. November 18th, 2019, a woman identified as Jane Doe 15 made a public appearance with her attorney, Gloria Allred, to announce that she was suing the estate of Little E in the District Court for the Southern District of New York, alleging that he manipulated, trafficked, and sexually abused her in 2004 when she was 15. On November 21st, 2019, Telia Davies appeared with her attorney, Gloria Allred, and announced her lawsuit in Manhattan federal court against Little E's estate. Davies stated that after meeting Little E in 2002, he sexually assaulted and trafficked her in New York, New Mexico, Florida, the Virgin Islands, and France. Jane Doe's 1 through 9. On December 3rd, 2019, lawyer Jordan Merson filed a lawsuit in New York on behalf of 9 anonymous accusers, Jane Doe's 1 through 9, and against E's estate for battery, assault, and intentional emotional distress. The claims date from 1985 through the 2000s and include individuals who were 13, 14, and 15 when they first encountered Little E. The lawsuit was filed by Bradley Edwards on behalf of his client in late December 19. The accuser, J.J. Doe, is described as being a 14-year-old resident of Palm Beach at the time Little E abused her in 2004. Let's see. Where are we? A lawsuit was filed in Superior Court of the U.S. Virgin Islands in January 2020, alleging that Little E ran a sex trafficking conspiracy for over 2 decades. You guys, this has all been Wikipedia for 2.5 hours. This is all Wikipedia, and that's it so far. I was going to try to read the things about Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer, and Sarah Ransom. I'm hoping that I'll still have time when I'm done with this before my voice fails me. Okay. But yeah, luckily I was able to get that 4:00 appointment off my schedule. So where are we? Oh, this is terrible. Okay, let me start at the beginning of this paragraph because I think I stopped mid-paragraph. A lawsuit was filed in Superior Court of the U.S. Virgin Islands in January 2020, alleging Little E ran a sex trafficking conspiracy for over 2 decades through 2018 with children as young as 11 years old. See, this is the first time that I've heard 11. Oh, but there is a picture of him with a little kid on his lap on one of his airplane rides to his island. That little kid looks less than 11, even though her face is blurred out. I used the image without her face in a thumbnail last week, if you're not familiar with the image. I think she's wearing light blue, either light blue sweater or light blue mini skirt, but she looks very little, very little. It's hard to say, but she definitely looks like she could be 11 or possibly even younger. It just breaks my heart. For 2 decades, with children as young as 11-year-olds on Little East Caribbean Islands, according to AG Dennis George, he alleged criminal activities on the islands were concealed through a complex network of companies. Yeah. I know Annabie's 11. You know, my youngest is 13 and a half. And even thinking of anything remotely like this happening to her. I mean, my oldest is 23 and a half. And to think of anything remotely like this happening to her, I always say I pity the fool that messes with either of my girls, because she will take them down. They both are smart, and I hope they never have to experience anything like that they would have to retaliate against. But I would imagine that they would retaliate quite abruptly and appropriately, and whoever tried that would regret it. Let's just put it like that. Not to mention that their dad's a cop, so he has a shovel and a pew pew and a license to ill. Not to mention that part, because he would never abuse his power anyway. He really wouldn't. He would play by the rules. That's just the way he is. I think. Here we go. Where was I? The 11-year-olds. Dang it. Oh, it just puts a dagger in your heart, doesn't it? January 2020, a lawsuit was filed against Maxwell and Little E, alleging that they recruited a 13-year-old music student at the Interlochen Center for the Arts in 94 and subjected her to sexual abuse. The suit states that Jane Doe was repeatedly sexually assaulted by Little E over a 4-year period, and that Maxwell played a key role in both her recruitment and by participating in the assaults. You know, if Donnie Two Dolls tries to give Maxwell a pardon, yeah, I think there might be a little bit of blowback on that. It's like, just try it, MF. Like, make my day. Just make my day. I don't think he would dare, but you just never know with him. He's so effing stupid, and he just gets stupider. Stupider and stupider and, dumb and dumber, right? There are so many supposed regular people who are predators. Absolutely. We just want justice for their victims. Yeah, I mean, one of the police officers that worked in the department that my husband worked we both liked this guy a lot too. And then a few years down the road, we saw him mugshot for him getting arrested for this exact thing in Toledo, Ohio. He was a cop. We knew him. We liked him. We thought he was extremely reasonable and decent. Anybody can be duped. I mean, both my husband and I are very suspicious of everybody all the time. And he totally had us snowed. These predators are usually pretty good at it. But as they get older, they get sloppier, they get stupider, they get just more careless. And the more they get away with, the more they kind of lose touch with reality and what's normal and what's not, right? They're their own worst enemies, but they are definitely like public enemy number one. So we have to teach our girls to be vigilant, and our boys. Totally. All of these men did crimes, so only one woman pimp in prison. Sad. Well, we know that there were other females, that younger blondies that were doing the same thing Ghislaine was doing. She was kind of the queen of the madames, and they were like the junior madames. My brother-in-law is a predator. Oh, I'm so sorry, Annabie's. Can't you have him off? I'm just kidding. No, I mean, it's tricky. I mean, sometimes you're very torn. Like you might have a lot of affection for somebody, and then you find these things out, and usually people can't reconcile the two, and so they just don't believe the stories. They're just like, no, that couldn't be because I know this person and I like them. And it's like, well, sorry, but yeah, you can know the person and like them, and it still could be. So it's really hard to grapple with those inequities, those conflicting thoughts and feelings and ideas. We teach our boys to be good people, and this society of poop on them. Patriarchy, poop on them. My uncle, not on me though. Well, I'm very glad not on you, because yeah, uncles can be some of the worst. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of classic pedo junk. Don't think I haven't wished it to happen. My sister didn't believe us. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's insanity. Insanity. And yeah, many wives don't believe these things about their husband. Okay, what else? Let me try to finish this up. And I am still planning on trying to read the parts. Maria Farmer has a Wikipedia, and then Annie Farmer and Sarah Ransom don't have Wikipedia, which they should. They deserve it. They exist. They're important, but there is information that I can read you about them. That I've already put the links to all three of those in the description, just in case I don't get to them. And then maybe if I don't get to them, I can try to get to them in the next video, but I'm going to try to hit all of it right now. So here we go, buckling down and keeping up with your comments too. They are our neighbors, our teachers, our family, emboldened by current social norms, and the weak must stay quiet or fear we are next. Yes, and I know. Principals and teachers, people's favorite teachers. Yes. Is this where I was? In August 2020, 9 Jane Does filed suit accusing little e of ritual abuse. The alleged victims in the lawsuit included an 11-year-old and a victim who alleges abuse in 1975. Oh, that would be when he was at the freaking school, the Dalton High School in Manhattan. And so Dalton High School, just for some clarity, it's not an all-girls school now, but it used to be an all-girls school. And at the time that little E was teaching there, from 74 to 76, it was allegedly in transition. So I don't know if it was all girls or not. Like, they're not really saying. So it probably was, right? Like, maybe they had taken the requirement of being female off, but it was still, kind of like Smith College was mostly women, even though it's not an all women's college anymore. No one believes. It's horrific. Exactly. I know. It's sometimes the worst part of it is the not being believed. My mom said, oh, it happens to all of us. Go on with life. Forget about it. You don't want to ruin your sister's marriage. Yeah, like she has one, right? Our church members got felt up by a minister once and quit going to church, and no one believes me. I am so sorry, Billy darling. Gross. Absolutely gross. I got felt up by a cross-country coach in high school. Ugh. It was during a massage because I had a problem with my hamstring. So he's like, let me help you out with that. But yeah, I didn't kick him in the teeth physically at that time, but in my mind, I was kicking him in the teeth. And I just avoided him at all costs after that. But yeah, I mean, I didn't turn him in because that was the 80s. And, it just wasn't even a thing to turn in a coach for something like that. He'd be like, I was just doing my job, right? Sings in the church choir, used to be on the school board. Yeah, it happens. Like, what the fuck? It doesn't have to happen if accountability, and then it would not happen. Exactly. Anna, my dad wasn't around and didn't give me attention like he did my brother. So yeah, dude. I'm asexual as hell now. Well, I can totally understand why, and there's nothing wrong with that, girl. I mean, if that's if that's how you like it, if that's your choice, then more power to you. Seriously. Whatever works for you, my dear. I'm so sorry. So alleging abuse in 75, that's when he was at Dalton School. So, see, Dalton School doesn't want to be attached to this. William Barr doesn't want to be attached to this because his dad was the one who hired him. And then William Barr was the AG when Epstein got Epsteined, and he should have never had anything to do with an Epstein case because of the conflict of interest. But he always said, yes, shut up. I do what I want. Right. In August 2020, Little E was sued by Jane Doe, accusing him of sexually abusing her for over a year, beginning when she was 18. A civil suit was filed against Little E's estate in March 2021 by a Broward County woman who accused Little E and Maxwell of trafficking her after repeatedly raping her in Florida in 2008. Oh, that's so creepy too, because 2008 is like the same year that he got sentenced. So he'd already been under investigation since like 2006 or something with the whole Acosta crap. And so he started repeatedly assaulting her in Florida in 2008, that same year that he got sentenced. Oh, it's infuriating. So she should be able to sue him, Acosta, because Acosta enabled that, right? Anna B says, I am too, Billy. Aw. That's awesome that you guys can like have each other's support here, and my support too. Religion is same as patriarchal stereotypes as our society, all about control. It's 2025. My parents didn't protect me, but I did protect my kids from that. I miss Kamala and Tim. I know. I have this fantasy that they'll be in power because this whole fraudulent bullcrap will be undone. But I think that that's pure fantasy. But it's good to have hope, right? It's good to dream. The U.S. government sued J.P. Morgan Chase Bank in 2022, alleging that J.P. Morgan facilitated, sustained, and concealed the human trafficking network operated by Little E. A related class action alleged that the bank assisted in the structuring of Little E's withdrawals of large amounts of cash. Wow. Previous long-term girlfriends of Little E's include Ava Anderson Dubin and publishing heiress Ghislaine. Little E dated Anderson Dubin for an 11-year period, mostly in the 80s, and the two later remained friendly well after her marriage to Glenn Dubin. Little E met Maxwell, daughter of disgraced media baron Robert, by 91. Little E and Maxwell came to the U.S. in 91 to recover from her grief following the death of her father. He might have been pushed off of the yacht that he fell out of that was named after her. And so she might have left for safety. I don't know. Maxwell was later implicated by several of E's accusers of procuring or recruiting underage girls, in addition to once being Little E's girlfriend. Several of Little E's household employees testified in 2009 that Maxwell had a central role in both his public and private life, referring to her as his main girlfriend, who also handled the hiring, supervising, and firing of staff starting around 1992. In 1995, Little E renamed one of his companies the Ghislaine Corporation in Palm Beach, Florida. That's weird. Let's see. And Billy says, you a freaking hero, lady. I think she's talking to you, Anna. I moved across the country. You too, Billy and Jazz. Me too. They like, why don't you visit? Why don't you call? Huh, daughter? Come on. Yeah, give me a break. Exactly. Figure it out, right? The company was dissolved in 98. In 2000, Maxwell moved into a 7,000 square foot townhouse less than 10 blocks from Little E's New York mansion. This townhome was purchased for almost $5 million by an anonymous limited liability company. I wonder if that had any affiliation to Little E or to Wex, with an address that matches the office of Little E and Company. Representing the buyer was Darren Indike, Little E's longtime lawyer. In a Vanity Fair article of 03, Little E refers to Maxwell as, quote, my best friend, but I thought that Donnie was his best friend. Little E was a longtime acquaintance of Prince Andrew and Tom Barrack and attended parties with many prominent people, including Bill Clinton, George Stephanopoulos, Mark Zuckerberg, Donnie Trumpster Fire, Katie Couric, Woody Allen, Jeff Bezos, Sergey Brin, Naomi Campbell, Stephen Hawking, Harvey Weinstein. Contacts listed in his printed phone directory included Rupert Murdoch, Michael Bloomberg, Andrew Cuomo, John Kerry, Richard Branson, Alec Baldwin, David Koch, and Michael Jackson. There's a few, huh? The Black Book also included the country that begins with an I and ends with an L or an I. Prime Minister Udid Barak, British Prime Minister Tony Blair, Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Both Clinton and Trumpster Fire said that they never visited Little E's island. Little E was also a longtime acquaintance of Mette-Marit, Crown Princess of Norway, with whom he stayed in contact for several years after his release from prison. Prison? He never went to prison. He just got held in an office, right? Yeah. There are some famous names in that book. Crazy Anna B's, Justice A-to-Z, Love Shares Lives. I know. Love Saves Lives. I know the name of my channel, right? Love Shares Lives. That works too. I can't wait to open it, Billy. Thank you again. Oh, I can't wait either. I was latchkey kid and had to parent my younger siblings. Give me a break. Nah, it's public information. Yes. According to Michael Wolff, former Trump chief strategist Steve Bannon, who I think Barr, Trumpster Fire, Bannon, Dershowitz, I think are who Epstein. And I kind of think that one of them might have been the hands-on, in my opinion, because if they contracted it, then they'd have another person that they'd have to take care of, if you catch my drift. So Bannon and Little E were introduced in 2017. Bannon met with Epstein several times at his mansion in New York. Also, according to Wolff, Bannon coached Epstein for a 60 minutes interview, which never occurred. A New York Times article reported that Bill Gates' relationship with Little E started in 2011, just a few years after E's conviction, and continued for some years. In August 2021, Gates said the reason he had meetings with E was because Gates hoped E could provide money for philanthropic work. Am I saying that right? Philanthropic work. Though nothing came of the idea, Gates added it was a huge mistake to spend time with him to give him the credibility of being there. Epstein owned a private, Little E owned a private Boeing 727 jet nicknamed Lolita Express, which might be the same Little E jet that Donnie had a shrink wrap of his campaign over. And I forget if that was the 2020 campaign or the one before it or the one after it or all the above. But I know for a fact that he had a Little E jet that he shrunk wrap Trumpster Fire crap over and used it for his campaign. And then he's like, well, we didn't know that that's the history of the airplane, as if. By local residents and traveled in it frequently, logging 600 flying hours a year, usually with guests on board. The jet was nicknamed the Lolita Express by the locals in the Virgin Islands because of its frequent arrivals at Little St. James with apparently underage girls. So for anybody who doesn't know, Lolita Express is a movie. It's an old movie. I think it's probably a book too. You can guess what it's about, right? It's about like a guy falling in love with a 12-year-old who he like does things with. Ugh. And I think that it's like the setting might be in France where, like I said earlier, it's like more acceptable, like creepy crap like that is more acceptable in France. Still unacceptable, in my opinion. Mookie, come here, baby girl. Come here. Hi, Chi-Ball. Come here, fur ball. Oh, you're so funny. Okay, let me get finished with this. If puppies come up to me, then I'll give you guys some puppy love. Jeff. Bless you, Jazz, for reading all that. I know. I'm like on a roll. I don't want to miss any of it. I wasn't planning on reading all of it. Probably Bannon. He looks stronger. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm with you, Anna Bees. And he's a beast, man. He's an absolute monster. Yeah, Stevie. Deaf was into children. Yeah, Stevie was into children too. Hawkins, yeah, all those pigs. I don't care. They're political. Imprison them all. Exactly. Who freaking cares? In Alligator Skidder Prison in Florida. I know. Okay. In 2003, Little E flew to Cuba aboard his plane with Colombian President Andre Pastrana Arango at the invitation of Cuban President Fidel Castro. According to Fabiola Santiago of the Miami Herald, Epstein was likely considering relocating to Cuba in order to escape U.S. law enforcement. Epstein was under investigation from U.S. law enforcement at the time. In 2009, Epstein's brother Mark claimed Trumpster Fire had flown on Little E's plane at least once. He later told the Washington Post that Trumpster Fire flew, quote, numerous times on Little E's airplane, although Mark was present on only one of those flights. According to Michael Corcoran, Trumpster Fire flew Little E on his own plane at least once. In September 2002, Little E flew Clinton, Kevin Spacey, and Chris Tucker. Is that the news guy, Chris Tucker? To Africa in his jet. Flight records obtained in 2016 show Bill Clinton flew 27 times to at least a dozen international locations. Well, I'm sure nothing happened, right? Yeah, I love when Jazzy takes the time to read to us. So does my dog Levy. Oh, that's so sweet, Patricia. I've had people tell me that they like to play my videos sometimes as like a bedtime story, and I just think that's so sweet. That just touches my heart. Flight logs did not list any Secret Service detail for at least 5 flights on a 2002 trip to Asia. The Secret Service stated that there is no evidence of the former president making a trip to Little E's private island. In 2019, Clinton's spokesperson stated that in 2002 and 2003, Clinton took 4 trips on Little E's airplane, making stops on 3 continents, all with his staff and Secret Service detail. Well, I'm sure then nothing raunchy could have happened. Bawdy. I was trying to think of that word from the letter. Something bawdy. Bawdy. Yeah. Right? Something bawdy. At the time of Little E's 2019 arrest, Clinton spokeswoman Angel Urena stated that Clinton had not spoken to Little E in well over a decade and has never been to Little St. James Island, Little E's ranch in New Mexico, or his residence in Florida. So I just thought of something, you guys. I never thought about this before. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you've thought about it. Maybe they had little E arrested so that they could have him in a cage so that they could Epstein him. This is why I like coming on live with you guys, because my brain has never went there. And methinks I'm onto something. Maybe they arrested him in July of 2019 so that they could Epstein him the following month. They were just waiting. They were just cooking up their plan, right? And then they could, because there was even an alleged self-unaliving attempt prior to that, so they could have staged that too. They could have like made documentation of that, and maybe it didn't even happen. Because that's what they always do. They're always like, oh, well, the person was self-injurious. They've tried it before, or, they've used drugs in the past. So yeah, they overdosed, they must have relapsed. I know they were sober for so many years, but I guess they obviously relapsed because, that happened. Let's see. Yeah, I love when Jazzy reads. I didn't highlight that one, and then I know where I'm at. One of your bedtime story friends. Aw, Patricia Moss, you're so sweet. Thank you. Chris Tucker was in the movie The Fifth Element. Okay, and get a hold of all the videos. Okay, where was I? I'm right here. You're gonna love this. This is a quote from Trumpster Fire in July 2019. Quote, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him, end quote. Well, he probably partied with everybody in Palm Beach, right? And got all of them party favors? I don't know. In a profile of Little E in New York Magazine in 2002, Trumpster Fire remarked, I've known Little E for 15 years. See, here he says 15. It's always 10. When he can do the fuzzy math, he always like whittles it down to 10. And this is 2002. And if he didn't cut off the relationship until 2004, then that makes 17. 17 years. That's a lot more than 10. That's almost twice as many. I've known Little E for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Little E enjoys his social life. That just kills me because that is not a social life. If you think that that's a social life, you're really, really stupid. Okay. In July 2019, Trumpster Fire said, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him, stating 4 times that he had not been, quote, a fan of Little E, and that he had not spoken to him in about 15 years. A video shot in 92 surfaced showing 2 men partying together at Mar-a-Lago. By 2007, Trumpster Fire reportedly banned Epstein from his Mar-a-Lago club for unseemly pursuit of younger girls. It's getting late, isn't it? The ban allegation was included in court documents filed by attorney Bradley Edwards. Although Edwards later said it was a rumor, he tried to but could not confirm. But if he banned him, that means that he was a regular. So that's good information right there. So he's saying that he was a regular when he says that he banned him. Meaning whatever. Okay, we're just going to keep reading and I'm going to stay caught up with you guys. Let's see. I bet someone still has copies. The math ain't mathin'. In 2002, spokesman of Clinton lauded Little E as a committed philanthropist with insights and generosity in his pants. Okay. Sorry, getting punchy here. At the time, Little E was on the board of Rockefeller University, a member of the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations, and was a major donor to Harvard University. These are exactly the types of things that so many perps get involved with. I mean, look at the was it the BTK killer that was like the Boy Scout leader and all that crap? Epstein, and I think a church elder and like a deacon and much, much more. Little E visited the White House while Clinton was president on 4 known occasions. In 93, he went to a donor event at the White House with his companion, Ghislaine. Around the same time, he also met with the president's aide, Mark Middleton, on at least 3 occasions at the White House. In 95, financier Lynn Forrester discussed Little E and currency stabilization with Clinton. Little E, according to his own accounts, was heavily involved in the foreign exchange market and traded large amounts of currency in the unregulated Forex market, foreign exchange market. In 95, Little E also attended a small political fundraiser dinner for Clinton, which included 14 other people, including Ron Perlman, Don Johnson, Jimmy Buffett, and dinner organizer Paul Prosperi. From the 90s to the 2000s, Little E often socialized with the Trumpster Fire. Author Michael Wolff wrote that Trumpster Fire, Little E, and Tom Barrack were at the same time like a set of nightlife musketeers on the social scene. In a 17 recording, Little E stated that he was, quote, Donald's closest friend for 10 years. Little E and Trumpster Fire socialized both in New York City and Palm Beach, where they both had houses. In April 2003, New York Magazine reported Little E hosted a dinner party in his Manhattan residence to honor Clinton, who did not attend, although Trumpster Fire did attend. According to the Washington Post, one person who knew Little E and the Trumpster Fire during this time noted that they were tight and they were each other's wingmen. Oh, cute, huh? In November 2004, Little E and Donnie Tudor's friendship ran into trouble when they became embroiled in a bidding war for a $40 million mansion, Maison de l'Amitié, which was being auctioned in Palm Beach. Trump won the auction for $41 million and successfully, I know I said his name, sold the property 4 years later for $95 million to the Russian billionaire Dmitry Rybolovlev. That month was the last time Little E and Donnie Tudor were recorded to have interacted. Well, see, and that also coincides with when Little E got turned into the authorities for his social life that he enjoyed so much, according to the stable genius Donnie Tudors. The exact origin of Little E's wealth is unknown. Les Wex is one source of Little E's original wealth. An assistant of Little E also stated that he got his fortune started through Robert Maxwell, the media mogul father of Ghislaine, when Little E pleaded guilty in 2008 to soliciting and procuring prostitution. His lawyer stated he was a billionaire with a net worth of over $1 billion. A number of sources, however, have questioned the extent of Little E's wealth and his status as a billionaire. Well, yeah, because he had full access to Wexner's cash, so he was pretty much allowed to call it his own, allegedly. The BTK was a Boy Scout leader and a deacon or something like that in the church. Yeah. And then he was like, he worked for state parks or federal parks or something. He was a forest ranger, which is really scary because that gives him a lot of, parks that he patrols and has power over people. So there could be a lot more of his victims. I hadn't really thought about that. Previous, either Farrell continuing the abuse or grows the hell up and does the right thing. Mm-hmm. Yes. Pray either turn feral. Yes. They not like us. I'm so sickened. I had a massive crush on Clinton. All of this is gross and heartbreaking for sure, Billy. Yeah, Patricia, I'm sorry, but it's good to know what's what, right? Um, let's see. Where was I? The money, 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 money. The $1 billion. Questioning Little E's wealth and status. According to the article in the New York Times, his fortune may be more illusion than fact. I think that that's the situation with the president. Much more illusion than fact. He sends emails to his MAGA people begging for any kind of cash donation, like pretty much every day, begging. Do you have $5? I need it so bad. Please, just $5. Okay. Little E lost large sums of money in the '08 financial crisis that he caused for the entire country and world, and friends and patrons, including retail billionaire Les Wex, quote, deserted him probably when he realized he stole all of his money, following his pleading guilty to prostitution charges in '08. New York Magazine claimed that there's scant proof of Little E's financial bona fides. Forbes also ran an article entitled "Why Rex Offender Little E is Not a Billionaire." Spencer Cooven, an attorney for 3 of Little E's alleged victims in the case where Little E pleaded guilty to sexual activity with minors, stated that he and his team pursued every possible angle to find out Little E's net worth, but found that much of his wealth is offshore. An investigation by the Miami Herald of the Swiss leaks documents indicated that Little E had multiple financial accounts with millions of dollars in offshore tax havens. In the Paradise Papers, records showed that Little E in February '97 became a client of Appleby, a Bermuda-based law firm which specialized in the creation of offshore companies and investment vehicles for the ultra-wealthy. Interesting. A client profile of Little E described his job cryptically as the manager of fortune. Sounds like a pirate. Yeah, I like Clinton too, but if he's guilty, he should pay. Knowledge is power. All the big, tough, bully guys. Predators are charming. Right. Usually they wouldn't be able to be predators otherwise. They wouldn't be able to trick their prey. And probably Big E's money is more fiction than fact, but his dad did own emerald mines. Right. Annabie's talking about the Tesla dude, Starlink. Yes. The boring guy. That guy's dad had a cray-cray interview, and he's deaf, abusive, but no excuse for Muskie to turn feral. Right. Yeah. His dad had babies with his sister. Okay. With his stepdaughter, basically. Ooh, do you hear that? More storm happening. I hope we don't lose the connection. And I'm trying so hard to get through this. I'm almost done. So close. So close. Where am I? Federal prosecutors on July 12th, 2019, stated in court documents that based on records from one financial institution, Little E was extravagantly wealthy and had assets worth at least $500 million and earned more than $10 million a year. The extent of his wealth, however, was not known since he had not filled out a financial affidavit for his bail application. According to Bloomberg News today, so little is known about Little E's current business or clients that the only things that can be valued with any certainty are his properties. The Miami Herald, in their investigation of the Paradise Papers and Swiss leaks documents, concluded that Little E's wealth is likely spread secretly across the globe. Yeah, I could believe that. They want to be the big boss. That guy's dad has cray cray interview, right? Amber Heard was his Madame Bay in the Day in the Bay. Exactly, Billy. Or they real humble and secret on one charming with dead eyes. Soulless. Yeah. Oh my God. His half sister. So awful. So awful. Yeah. So, right. So that makes Elon need some therapy, don't you think? But he doesn't think he needs any. I mean, wouldn't you? I sure would. I think therapy is great. I think we all need therapy. Anyway, and that's not just because I'm trying to push therapy, I think it's something to be celebrated. It really is. Just self-improvement, self-value, self-worth. So where am I in this? I'm so distracted by the storm outside. The extent of his wealth is not known since he has not filled out a financial affidavit for his bail application. According to Bloomberg News, today so little is known about Little E's current business or clients that the only things that can be valued with any certainty are his property. Okay, I read all that. In 2020, Little E's estate's finances revealed that it had paid out nearly $50 million between June 2020 and December 2020, so just 6 months, to more than 100 women who brought claims to the Epstein Victims Compensation Fund set up in the U.S. Virgin Islands. But mind you, anybody who took payment from the Epstein Victims Compensation Fund, which is more than 100 women and more than $50 million just in that 6-month period, none of them can ever say anything about it, not even to a therapist. I mean, it's hardly worth it, but I mean, what do you do, right? It's like pick your poison. By February 2021, the estate was valued at about $240 million, down from the estimate of $630 million a year earlier. They're not talking about all the other money that was paid out. They're just talking about that 6-month period. So there could have been multiple of that paid out before and after, but they're just like, here's a 6-month where it was 50 million, but somehow $400 million was down. So that could have been, if it was more than 100 women in those 6 months, how many hundreds of women's in the months before and after those 6 months? Again, the freaking gaslighting. This prompted the Attorney General of the Virgin Islands, Dennis George, to file an emergency motion seeking the immediate asset freeze. She is contending in the court filing, which the victims joined, that the estate executors had mismanaged the money. See, because she probably has access to the money if it's there. It's like her money. When does it stop? When does the crazy stop? Why do they all have in common money and network they hang out within? Right, like power and control. Back in the day, I'm outside in the sun, sorry, he's a narcissist, then you have an accident. Exactly. Epstein owned the Herbert N. Strauss house on 9 East 71st Street on the Upper East Side of Manhattan in New York City. It was originally purchased for $13.2 million in '89 by Little E's mentor, Leslie, who renovated it completely. Little E moved into the mansion in '95 after Leslie married and moved with his wife to Columbus, Ohio to raise their family. He took full possession of the mansion in '98 and he paid Wexner $20 million for it. That's funny because I've seen 10 million, I've seen $10, I've seen 1 million. Like, who knows? I kind of doubt he ever paid a dime for it. The house was valued in 2019 by federal prosecutors at $77 million, while the city assessed its value at $56 million. The mansion is reputedly the largest private residence in Manhattan at 21,000 square feet. Hidden under a flight of stairs, there is a lead-lined bathroom fitted with its own closed-circuit television screens and a telephone, both concealed in a cabinet under the sink. The house also has its own heated sidewalk to melt away the snow. The entrance hall is lined with rows of individually framed prosthetic eyeballs that were made in England for injured soldiers. That's disgusting. The financier's other properties include a residence in Palm Beach, Florida, purchased in 1990, 7 units in an apartment building near the Arc Day. I like jumped. Did you hear that thunder? I love it. I don't usually jump, but that was some loud thunder. You probably heard it. Without their money, they lose all their power. So hopefully we don't lose the stream again. I'm trying so hard to get through with this, and then also hit on the Sarah Ransom, Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer. Their information is short, of course, because, you know, let's see. The financier's other properties included a residence in Palm Beach, Florida, purchased in 90, 7 units in an apartment building near that's where I left off, the Arc de Triomphe at 22 Avenue Foch in Paris, France, a 7,500 acre ranch named Zora Ranch near Stanley, New Mexico, that is not too far from where Helena Hutchins got pew-pewed by Alec Baldwin, who was mentioned earlier in this article. Interesting, huh? Purchased in 1993, and when he purchased it, he said it was going to be his baby farm. He said that. That's why he was buying the Zora Ranch, to make it into a baby farm. A private island near St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands called Little St. James, which includes a mansion and a guest house and guest houses, purchased in 98, and the neighboring island of Great St. James, purchased in 2016. Little E was building a compound on the latter, including an amphitheater, an underwater office, and pool, but ran into problems when a stop work order was issued in late 2018. Work continued despite the order. Oh, what? He does what he wants? He doesn't pay attention to rules? Imagine that. Little E, previous to his final Manhattan home, lived in a spacious townhouse, which was a former Iranian government building that had been taken over by the State Department during the Iranian Revolution, at 34 East 69th Street for a rate of $15,000 a month from 92 to 95. He also previously owned a mansion outside Columbus, Ohio, near Wexner home. I didn't mean to read his name, but yeah, and there's like a tunnel between the two. Also, the one in Manhattan. Let's see, allegedly, which he purchased from his mentor. Yeah, probably for $1 again. Before the Herbert Strauss house was purchased, Leslie purchased in 88 the adjacent townhouses at 11 East 71st Street. Like in the case of 9 East 71st Street house, Little E was on the deed of the 11 71st East 71st Street house as the trustee. The townhouse was sold in 96 to the Comet Trust, which holds part of the assets of the Day Gunsberg Brofman family. Little E rented offices for his business dealings. Do I really want to read the rest of this? Oh my God, it just goes on for like a million more years. I'm going to have to stop because this is ridiculous. OMG. But why don't I jump to the part about transgenics? Like, yeah, I'm going to just jump because that's just way too much information. All the properties. I mean, I'm sure it's interesting. I'm sure there's good information there. Alleged connections to intelligence agencies. Let's see, the eugenics and transhumanism. I don't even know if we want to read about that. We just know that it's there. Yeah, let's just jump over to the victims, the survivors. Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer, Sarah Ransom. Let's honor them. They're all still living. We'll hopefully get some justice at some point, somehow. And let's see, which one should I start with? I think I will start with, I think this one is Sarah Ransom. Yeah, Sarah Ransom. She's beautiful. So I think in the thumbnail, she's the one on the far left. I mean, they're all beautiful. He preyed on beautiful young women. So she was born in 84 from South Africa. She was one of Little E's wreck slaves and